What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe down below, turn on your post notifications, that way you get notified every time I post a new video. Oh my god, I totally didn't notice that this shirt has a hole in it. So I already know that this video is going to be long as hell, so let's just show you the cutie that we're going to be making today and let's get right to it. Alright guys, so I'm going to be honest with you, this is some scrap yarn that I kind of had lying around, so I don't really know what ply it is, and I also already messed up once and I frogged it, so let go. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take your hook and hold it like this. And then I like to hold my yarn this way. And then I use a lot of these back fingers while I'm doing it. So really get into the habit of using all your fingers. And you have no idea what you can create by just being able to move these digits. So anyway, here we go. So you're going to go ahead and yarn over 2 times, and then I like to pinch the back here and just go ahead and pull that yarn through, and then I'm going to chain 2, and in that first hole here I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook, and I'm going to hold this apart like a U shape, and I'm going to pull or slip stitch my last chain into my first chain, just like that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and chain 2, and that is going to count as 1 single crochet. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over, and in this hole here, which is basically the center of those 3 chains that we just made, that hole is going to serve as the center or the base of these half double crochets. So I'm going to put single crochets. I'm going to put 11 single crochets in that hole. Alright, so now that I have placed 11 single crochets in that first hole, and remember that we chained 2 to make that first single crochet, so technically this counts as 1, so it is a total of 12 single crochets in that hole. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get in between these first 2 single crochets, okay? Do not put your slip stitch in the hole here, because you need that hole for the next row, and if you do put it there, then when you go on to the next row you're going to be missing one, and he's going to be a little bit skinnier than you want him to be. So go ahead and slip stitch into the space in between, like I said. Alright, and now we don't want him to have this huge hole on the top of his head, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get that first string where you started, and I just like to pull it super hard, that way there is no hole there, there's no way the cotton or the polyfill can come out, and this is what you're working with. This should be the end of row 2, so row 1 is technically the foundation chains, and then this is row 2. For row 3, you're going to go ahead and you're going to chain 1, and that is going to count as 1 single crochet. And then, like I said, don't skip out on that first hole here, that first chain space. You want to make sure that you put one there. And now this one was a single one, so here you're going to want to do 2 single crochets in the same chain space. Alright, and on the next one you're gonna do a 1 single crochet. So you have 1, 2, 1, and then on the next one you're gonna put 2 single crochets in the same spot, and you're going to alternate all the way through row 3. Alright, so I made it to the end of my 3rd row, and as you can see, I alternated. So this was a single, this was a double, this was a single, this was a double, all the way through it. And now we're going to do the same thing that we did in the 1st row, and we're going to be doing this pretty much all throughout the project. Is we are going to slip stitch in between those first 2 single crochets. Please do not put your hook in the hole in the chain space. Like I said, it's going to come out funky at the end, so make sure that you don't do that. Now I'm going to repeat the same process, but this one we're going to add a little less. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and stick one in that first spot. And it's important to keep the tension really tight. I know that it's very uncomfortable for certain people, but technically the, you know, amigurumi, or I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm not saying that right, but you know that the projects have to be pretty tight and pretty close-knit in order for the polyfill to stay inside, or whatever you're going to stuff it with to stay inside. So make sure that you keep the tension pretty tight. Alright, so for this row, we are going to be adding or increasing 1 extra double crochet in every 3 spaces, so every 4th space. So like I said, this one counts as 1, here's 2. Now we're going to go ahead and do our 3rd one. And then we're going to put 2 in the 4th chain space. And then I'll meet you guys on the other side of this row. Alright guys, so I actually got to the end and I just followed the same pattern. So as you can see, here's the first one that we did, and it's 1, 2, 3, and then 2, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 2, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 2. Basically follow the same pattern all the way down, and you start to get the idea of the head and how it's coming along here. Now, he is not going to be huge. He's going to be a quite small fellow. He's actually going to be a gift for my sister for Valentine's Day, but you can make him whatever size you want. You can go ahead and what I would do is just increase, instead of increasing every 3 on the second one, increase the same for both of these rows, and he will turn out much bigger. But for the sake of the video not being 3 hours long, we are making a little small cutie. Alright, so now for the next, I'm gonna say about 5 rows because we want them to be quite long. So for the next couple rows, you're just going to put a single crochet in every chain space. You're not going to increase, and you just want to keep up with the same pattern or same rule that I told you is, you know, in that first one, always put the slip stitch through the space between these 2, and don't put it in that top one because you need that top one. So here we go again, and Alright guys, so I was originally going to end at 10 rows, but seeing how big it is here and how big I want it to be, I actually decided to add 2 more rows, so it's going to be a total of 12 rows altogether. Alright, so I am finally done with my 12 rows, and now I basically am going to make wherever you started or wherever you were going to the next row at, should I say, your seam here, you're going to go ahead and use this as the back of your Among Us. You don't want this to go down the front because, you know, I mean, maybe to the naked eye it's not noticeable, but to me it's very noticeable. So if you can see that seam down the middle here, I just don't like it. So I'm gonna make that the back of my little Among Us friend. So you insert in the very center, and then you just yarn over and pull through. Okay, and you basically made your Among Us friend's little crotch area, basically. And now you have your 2 sides, which are going to be the legs. Now this is where you are going to stuff, or at least I'm going to stuff. So this is what my little guy looks like right now. And I'm just gonna go ahead and take a little bit of this polyfill cotton, and I'm just gonna go ahead and stuff it. And what I do to kind of hold my place is I pull the yarn through. And what's going on? Oh, there you go. I just pull the yarn through, so it's already saved my little spot. And I'm gonna go ahead and open his little legs up, and I'm gonna stuff him. Stuff him up like a little turkey on Thanksgiving. All right. Oh, this is gonna be the cutest Among Us ever. I tried to make a smaller Among Us because, like I said, I didn't want this video to last forever, but so far all the Among Us that I have made are probably about maybe 7 inches or bigger. Definitely bigger than a foot long. What is it? a half sub from Subway. Definitely longer than that. I'm not even kidding though, guys. I literally measure my life in Subway sandwiches. All right, so now that I have my Among Us nice and stuffed up, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to see that big loop that I made. I'm just gonna put my hook in there, and then I'm just going to pull the other loose end here and just get my little hook back in. All right, guys, now this part is gonna be so hard to film, but I am going to try my absolute hardest to keep the camera in focus as I'm doing this. I'm gonna have to find a new way to crochet because I really want to let you guys be able to see what I'm making. So what you're gonna do here is you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna chain, I would chain 2 just so it's easier to slip stitch it later, okay? And I always go left. I don't know, it's just easier for me since you're already here. So basically I chained up here and I'm going to start making this leg. So I chained up and I'm going to do the same thing, you know, single crochet in every single chain space. Single crochet in every single chain space. Okay. So let me meet you guys at the end of this. All right, so I got to the end of my first little row on my little guy's right leg. So as you can see, he's here. We got one going up, right? Now you want to go ahead and do that. I would say I'm going to do it 3 times, okay? I'm going to do it 3 times and then I'm going to show you how to close off his leg. Alright guys, so I went ahead and did 3 rows here on the leg, and now you can kind of see the shape of him, and he is so cute. Seriously, I am really living for how tiny he is. Alright guys, so now we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty. Like for real though, it's time to start closing off this leg, and this part is a little bit tedious because you are going to be stressing your fingers a lot, especially because of how small, like I said, he is. But alright, let's go ahead and do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and chain 1, okay? And I'm going to skip that first one, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick it into the second one. And I think I'm going to reduce every 3. So let's see, we do 3 here, 3 single crochets here, okay? And then now with these 2 here, instead of putting 1 here and 1 here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a single crochet through both of them. So I put my hook through both sides or both chain spaces, and I go ahead and I single crochet there. Okay, so you technically reduced 1 right there, and you can kind of already see the shape that's taking form. Okay, so that's 1. Make sure that you don't put 1 here, because as you can see, it's grabbing onto these 2 chain spaces. So don't put another one here. Okay, skip that one. And then go ahead and do 1, 2, 2 and 3. Okay, and on the 4th one we're going to do the same thing there. Okay, so you see we have 2 chain spaces, and normally you would put one here and one here, but since we're reducing, I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to put my hook through both chain spaces just like that, both chain spaces. Okay, and I'm going to put 1 single crochet through 2 chain spaces. This method really helps with holes because, you know, when you decrease you usually skip, and when you skip you end up with these huge holes. So I've learned that this method is way better and it makes it look much nicer when you decrease. All right, so let's go ahead and do it to the end of this row. We're doing 3, and then it came out perfect. So on the last one here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put 1 single crochet through 2 chain spaces, and we decreased here, and I'm going to slip stitch into that first one. All right, so now look at that, guys. Do you see how we didn't decrease a lot, but you can already see where it's taking shape? And you can see him, look, you got a booty right here, and this is okay. So now on the next one, so now on the next row, what we're gonna do is we're gonna decrease again. So we're gonna chain 1, and then I'm gonna skip that first hole, okay, because we're no longer trying to keep it even or straight, and I'm gonna go ahead and just go straight for a single crochet in 2 chain spaces here. I'm basically gonna decrease every other one, every other chain space, okay? So look at that. So technically this counts as 1 here. This counts as 1 here. And then I put a single crochet in this 2 chain spaces here, okay? So now the next one, I'm gonna go ahead and remember, don't put it in that first one, you gotta skip it to the next one. I'm gonna put a single crochet in there. Okay, and tighten it up, make sure that you keep the yarn very tight with a lot of tension, because like I said, we're closing it off, you know, and you don't want any of the filling to be coming out or it to look funky. So make sure that you put a lot of tension into closing off your projects. So we did a single crochet there, and now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the same thing again, where we do 2 chain spaces with 1 single crochet. And you can already see that it is reducing this little guy's foot by a lot and giving us the illusion that the feet are getting smaller. So here we go again, same process, every other one. So when I say every other one, that means that you do 1 single crochet in a chain space, and then the next one you're going to be reducing, so you're going to be putting the hook between 2 chain spaces like so, and then you're going to go ahead and just, all right, and you can already see, look at him, that's his little foot. You can already see how it's going. All right, so I'm at the end of that row. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a slip stitch. I'll go ahead and do a slip stitch through the last one. Okay, and we still have a little hole here. All right, we have a little hole. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually pull the yarn out a little bit, like I always do that just to save my spot. And then I'm gonna go ahead and with my finger and with maybe a little bit of the hook, I'm gonna start putting the yarn down, I'm gonna start putting the cotton down, pushing it down to the leg so I can kind of fill them up. I'm giving him a BBL right now. I'm gonna fill him up to however thick I want him. And you can do it with your hook too. And I love to use the hook to kind of fluff the stuff up later. Like, I feel like it's very convenient to fluff it up later, but I'll show you when it's done how I like to do that. So I could kind of, you know, get it where I want it. So look at that, guys. Look at that. Look at this. He is coming out pretty cute. He's tiny. I am not used to making small crochets like this. This is my green baby. And look at him just for comparison. Alright guys, so now just to go ahead and close that little toe up, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to, so I have let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have possibly 6 chain spaces at the bottom. So usually what I'll do is I'll just put the hook in through each one and the one that goes opposite of it, just like that. You can see, I hope you can see. Okay, so I go ahead and I just pull the yarn through. Okay, and that seals that one. Okay, and then now in the next one I'm just going to put it through there and in the chain space that corresponds to the back of it. And one more time just to kind of tie it off. And just make sure you tighten it super tight. And I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to pull it through. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut. And I just tied off the end of one of my little Among Us foots. Alright guys, so I'm gonna go and do the other little foot off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, so I didn't realize that I do need to show you how to start the other leg. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and look, and this is where we started our other leg, right? We started here. So you're gonna start on this one, you're gonna turn your work around. You're gonna turn to the front of the Among Us. Remember, we started here where the seam is. So you're gonna turn it around right at the very hole where you see the first one. You're gonna just insert your hook there and insert it to the corresponding one, the one right over it, just like that, okay? And you're going to take your yarn and you're just going to pull your yarn through there like that. Just like that. And then get used to using your other fingers. So here I'm just going to use my pinky and my ring finger to hold the other side of the yarn. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain up. And I'm going to just put a single crochet in every next, I'm sorry, let me fix the camera. Okay, so I'm going to just add I'm just going to add a single crochet in every single chain space all the way around, and I'm going to repeat the process that I did with the other leg. So that's just showing you how to start it. So you see, I just stuck my hook in here and I started from the opposite side. So when you started to do his right leg, you started in the back, and then when you're gonna do his left leg, you're gonna start here at his little crotch and you're gonna go ahead and do the left leg. just like you did the first one. All right, guys, so this is what he looks like right now. Look at him. He is so cute. So just gonna show you how to tuck the strings in, and then we're gonna go ahead and move on to his little backpack or jetpack, whatever it is. So what I like to do is I like to actually put my hook in from pretty far away, all the way into wherever the string is, and I just like to pull it all the way in like that. I pull it as far in as I can, and that's it. That's it. I did that to the feet, and now I did that to the last string, and now he is seamless. So his jetpack is pretty much gonna be the width and length of his back. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just eyeball it off of there. So let me go ahead and make a quick chain. All right, went ahead and did about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so I did 11 chains, and that's the width that I want to make it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to the here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just chain one and go ahead and insert into the first one, and that's it. And I'm gonna go ahead and single crochet all the way through, and I'm just gonna keep going back and forth until I have the square, the length that I want to make it. This is pretty much nothing special. So let me go ahead and do that. Alright guys, so I went ahead and I did 5 rows total. Okay, and I just measured it up to my little guy, so he's there. I just kind of measured it up. Their backpacks or jetpacks are so over exaggerated, but also I want you to know that once you sew it in, it's going to take a lot of it. So you want to go ahead and make sure that you make it a little bit bigger or oversized. Alright, so the way that you're going to give this a 3D effect is, instead of going around it, just going into the chain spaces like this, we're going to turn our work like this, right? We're going to be inserting the hook into the work like this. So you, instead of going like, I don't know how to explain it. Let me see if you can get it when I start doing it. So here's my work, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and chain one, just like that, okay? And instead of like going like this, I'm going to turn my work like this. And I'm going to put it where it's kind of like standing up, I guess you can say. And there you go, just like that. You're going to do it all the way through. It's a little bit easier to show you on the sides where there's actually chain spaces, but just like that, okay? And I'm going to show you that when you get to the corner, you got to do a specific, you're going to do kind of the way that we decreased on the ends of the feet. You're going to do something like that. So let me show you, and I hope you can kind of understand it. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? How they're kind of like standing up. See where it's kind of creating that L shape? That's why you're going to insert into the chain spaces the way that I told you. So you can start to give it that form, that square form that the backpack is supposed to look like. So when you get to a corner, we're going to get to the first corner here. Make sure that you crochet pretty tight there because you don't want to leave any holes, okay? But see, just go around and do the same thing all the way around. Alright, so I hope I made sense in that last clip, but basically the reason that you turn your work sideways is so that it starts to give it that effect. So I hope you can see now. It's focusing pretty well. You can see where it's kind of already starting to give the box shape. I'm going to go ahead and go around it one more time, which is much simpler now. I'm just going to go ahead and chain one and then put a single crochet in every single one of these, and then I'm going to check it out and see if it is big enough. Now remember, you can do this whatever size, whatever yarn, so it might be a little bit different for you how many rows you're going to have to put on this specific part. Alright guys, so I went around a second time. There's my second row, and you can kind of see what I was going for, and you will see that it's going to be a perfect size for him. Alright guys, next we are going to start on his eye, or I guess his little glass window that he's able to see through. And the way we're going to do that is, again, we're just going to measure up to here. I really think that it's going to be maybe 4 or 5 chains to start the center. So let's go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. I think that's pretty perfect. And then I'm going to hold that bottom chain here, not the one on the hook, but just the bottom chain. And I'm going to chain one up, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a single crochet in that first chain space. And I'm going to single crochet all through the other 4 chain spaces. And when I get to that very last chain space here, right there, I'm gonna do 3 single crochets, okay? Get ready. So we're doing 1, we're doing in the same exact hole, we're gonna do 2, and get this little one out of here, and 3. In the same exact one, okay? And then I'm going to flip my work around, and I'm going to go ahead and single crochet in the next 4 or 3. 1, yeah, no, I think I'm okay. It's 2. And 3. Okay, and then just tighten up your work. You know, make sure you tighten your chain at the bottom here. Tighten it up, and go ahead, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add 3 to the last one. And then into the first, we're just gonna slip stitch right in there. So you can see the idea. Okay, so that is his first little round. I'm gonna go around one more time, and at the same, I'm gonna do the same thing when I get to that center one here, is add, increase by 3. Alright, so I'm at my second row, and if you can tell, it's already somewhat forming the window shape, which I'm really excited about because then I won't have to work too hard on that. And so that is basically going to be his little face. And what I'm gonna do, just for a little added effect, is I'm gonna add a row of black, but with my row of black, I'm just gonna slip stitch it in. I'm not going to add another row because I fear it might be too big. Alright, so this one's gonna be real nice and simple. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull my other black yarn through the same loop. I'm going to turn it around like this, and I'm going to take my black, I'm going to take my gray, I'm just going to tie it twice. Just like that, bam, tied up. And pull real tight on the black, and then I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, I'm going to go around it one time in black, so I'm going to chain up and do the same thing. Alright guys, so I went ahead and went around it, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and cut the yarn here. Now you can actually see what it's going to somewhat look like. So now that I have my little face here, I'm going to go ahead and start sewing it on. So I'm just going to use the side that does not have the seam. I don't know if you can see here, this one has a seam here. This one does not have a seam. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this baby on here. The way that I like to pin my stuff on is I get my trusty old bobby pin, and if you don't own a bobby pin or have a bobby pin somewhere, ask a woman in your life. She probably has one. And these are perfect to kind of just pin. So I'm going to pin it down there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take another one. I'm gonna pin that there. And so you're kind of getting now the image of what we're going for. And the way that I like to tie mine is I usually get like a little loop going here like this. And I just make a, all right. And what I do is I start from behind or under. So you're not going to be able to see the knot that I just made, and I'll be able to tuck it in, okay? And it's just going to be pretty basic from here. So I'm going to try my hardest to do this. Let me go ahead and lift the camera a little bit. Alright, so I'm done with the top half. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this little area to stuff the little astronaut or robot. I'm really not sure what these things are. I just know that my sisters love them. So... All right, so that is the little face area, and now we're gonna move on to his little jetpack. And once again, once you get to that little halfway point, you can just go ahead and start stuffing it up. All right, once I stuff it, I go ahead and I put the bobby pins in right at the bottom, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and go around and stitch him up, and he's gonna be all ready to go. All right, and then you're just gonna go ahead and put your bobby pin in, and you can fluff up the fill and kind of, you know, block it in a way. And ideally you also would use red thread, but I didn't have any, so this is what we're going with. And you could just kind of shape him how you want to shape the fill now that he's all done. Alright guys, that concludes my Among Us crochet tutorial. I really hope that you did enjoy it. It took me a long time to edit, but I do appreciate your feedback. So if you guys want to go ahead and let me know if I should add some things, if I should take some things out, if you think you can do with, you know, more of a pattern on the screen. I really didn't know how to edit this video. I wanted to make it as informative as possible, but at the same time I didn't want to make it so long. But I really hope that it helped you somewhere down the line. And if it did, please, please give me a big thumbs up. Let me know that you're watching. And like I said, I'm always open to suggestions. Here's our little baby. He is so cute, guys.